Well, hello. My name is Michael Anderson, and it is so good to be here. I hope that you're having a great day. I know that I am. I hope you're having a great week. I know that I am. Things have been very different for me lately, and I'm grateful as anything to be able to be experiencing the life that I've been experiencing lately. So, today we're going to talk about two different people. We're going to be using the Bible, in fact, a Bible story, a book of the Bible, to get a certain topic that I want to talk about across. I believe that this book is very, very impactful in helping you to see the difference between the two different types of people that we have in the world today. And there's two different types of people. Probably didn't know that, but well, I'm sure that there's many more. But when it comes to this topic, I'm talking about two different types of people. So the book is called Ruth, and it's only 4 chapters. It's based in a time period of 1100 BC, and just to give you a little bit of background about the story, it's about a man named Elimelech who marries a woman named Naomi. They have two children, Mahlon and Chilion. They go from Israel and they settle in the land of Moab. While they're in Moab, Mahlon and Chilion get married to two women from that land, Ruth and Orpah. For some reason, after 10 years, Elimelech dies, leaving Naomi as a widow. And then Mahlon and Chilion die not too long after that, leaving Orpah and Ruth widows also. So Naomi decides that she's going to go back to her land in Israel. So that's basically the way that the story starts out. The title of this message today is going to be called Death to Being Mediocre. It's time to be extraordinary. And I am so glad to be talking about this topic. And I'm mainly going to be focusing on two different people from this story. There's a few characters in this story, but I'm going to be focusing on two different people. The book of Ruth is only 4 chapters. I encourage you to read it because everything I'm going to be talking about, you'll be able to see. And I remember when I used to read this story, I used to not really see too much importance in it. But it was like the third time I read through it, all of a sudden the story became alive to me. I actually saw what I'm about to tell you today. There's one person that's mediocre. There's one that is extraordinary. So, just to let you know, Ruth is the one who's the extraordinary one, and we're going to be really focusing on what are her qualities. What does she do differently than Naomi, who's the mediocre one? So, we're going to get right into it. I defined the two words, mediocre and extraordinary. So, I'll put it up on the screen there. Mediocre, of only ordinary or moderate quality, neither good nor bad, barely adequate, not satisfactory, poor, inferior, and some synonyms are meager, low quality, second rate, common, and usual. Extraordinary, beyond what is usual, ordinary and regular or established. Exceptional in character, amount, extent, degree, etc. It's noteworthy, remarkable. Synonyms can be inordinate, uncommon, singular, rare, phenomenal, and special. So I want you to think about what are the qualities of somebody who is mediocre, and what are the qualities of somebody that is extraordinary. I'm sure that you can think of so many different examples, and there's probably people that come into your head when you think about these two words. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to focus on Naomi first. So Naomi is going back to the land of Israel, and her daughter-in-laws are following her. Naomi turns around and says something really interesting to them. She tells them to go back to their families and go back to their land and don't go with her. Now, Naomi is kind of old at this point and obviously probably needs a lot of help. And even at that, probably needs somebody to accompany her back to her land because that's quite a far walk, if you can imagine. And back in this time, women are second-class citizens. They're not equal citizens like we have today. So women didn't work really, and women, they didn't really have that many rights. So she turns around and she says something very interesting to Ruth and Orpah, and she tells them to go back to their lands. And they didn't want to listen. So what's really interesting is she turns around and tells them again. So the first quality that we can see here in Naomi is that she pushes people away, she pushes help away, and she pushes love away. So how many of you know people who are like that? That when it comes time to needing help or needing anything, they push people away. And it frustrates other people, especially the people that love them the most. They feel rejected. So Naomi pushes people away, and that creates a spirit of rejection or a feeling of rejection for other people. So not only did she push them away, the second quality here is she did it again. They were willing to keep going, and she did it again. So we can see that she's stubborn. So the reasons that she gives as to why she doesn't want them to go is because she's old, she's not going to be able to get married again, and even if she were and have children, she wouldn't be able to give them away to her daughters-in-law anytime soon. So she has no value pretty much and has nothing to offer. So we see that she has excuses and reasons. We see that she feels very invaluable and has nothing to offer anybody. So that's the next thing, is excuses and reasons. So we've got pushing people away, stubborn, excuses and reasons, and feeling invaluable. So what ends up happening is Ruth decides that she's going to go with her anyway, or believes. And because of this, when they get back to the land of Israel, people notice Naomi. They're like, wow, is this Naomi? And what does Naomi do? She starts pretty much complaining. Don't call me Naomi. My name is not Naomi. The strong one dealt me a bitter blow. This is just horrible for me, pretty much is what she's saying. So she's complaining. She's being negative. And she says that it's God's fault as to why she has been ruined. He did it to me. So we have blaming next, is the quality of being mediocre. We see that she was blaming God. How many of you know people that blame people when situations happen? So we can also see that she's feeling conquered. She doesn't feel she is capable of doing anything for her. Her life is ruined, as she said. So the qualities of being mediocre are push people away, push help away, and push love away. Being stubborn, having excuses and reasons, being negative, complaining, blaming, and feeling conquered. There's fruit that comes out of this kind of behavior, but we'll talk about it later. So let's take a look at Ruth. The first thing I want to say about Ruth is she's persistent. Naomi told her 3 times to go back to her people, but she was persistent. She didn't listen to Naomi. She had made a decision, and she stuck to it. And because of her willingness to stick to her decision, Naomi actually allowed her to come back to Israel with her. The next thing that we see is that, and this is the second quality of being extraordinary, is she had a clear and strong vision. When Naomi told her to go back to her people, she said, I will go with you, and wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Where you die, I will die. And your God will be my God, and your people will be my people. So when she communicated this clear vision, once again, Naomi allowed her to come with her. So we see that she had a clear vision. She knew where she was going. And one thing I want to say about this that's really interesting is that Ruth is from a land called Moab. And Moab was a land that the Israelites did not like. They didn't like these people. They didn't even want these people in their land. But I'm sure that Ruth knew that the Israelites didn't like them very much. I'm pretty sure she was very aware of that. But she didn't let that stop her from going to the place where she needed to go. How many times do we hear people talk about not being good enough, or not having what it takes, or not feeling like they're the right skin color, they're the right height, or the right this, or the right that? We see here that Ruth obviously wasn't the right kind of person to go to Israel, but she did anyway. So when she gets to Israel, we see that she is willing to work. She's willing to do what it takes, Colossians 3:23 says, whatever your hands can find, do it with all your might. So she was willing to work. And because she was willing to work and she had an extraordinary attitude, we see that she got a lot of favor, because she ended up in a field picking grain or picking wheat or whatever she was doing. She was picking. And a man named Boaz had heard a lot of great things about her. So he gave her a lot of favor by telling his workers to make sure that she doesn't get harassed, telling her that she can drink from all the water that she wants, telling his workers to make sure to make it easier for her by, make it easier for her to be able to pick up more grain. So they actually went into the field and put it down in front of her, and she was able to just pick it right up, and it wasn't hard for her. So she got a lot of favor because of this. The next thing we see is that she's very humble, because Boaz comes to her and she says to him, "Why would you treat a foreigner like me really great?" Now, she could have had a different attitude. I'm a foreigner. I deserve to be treated great. But she didn't have that attitude. She had a good attitude. She was very humble. She was very respectful, too, to Boaz. He was the owner of the field. A very exceptional man. So after this, Naomi decides that she wants to help Ruth to get a husband, pretty much. And she wanted to set her up with Boaz. She gives her some instructions on what to do. So right there, let's just stop for a minute there. Sometimes the people that are mediocre in our lives are the very people that are going to set us up for something great in our destiny. So never push people away. Don't look at people's lives and say they need to be doing more. Maybe they do need to be doing more. Maybe they're not working. Maybe they're not doing anything with themselves. But who knows? They may be the people that might propel us very far into our destiny where we need to go. So never underestimate anybody in your life. I guarantee you that everyone in your life is there for a reason. So we see that Naomi gives Ruth some instructions. And what does Ruth do? She says, "I will do exactly what you ask me to do." So what's really interesting there is that we see that Ruth knows how to follow directions. She's very obedient. How often do we give people directions and then they don't do the directions that we said? They add steps, they take steps away, and it can be very frustrating because now we have to go back and fix whatever they messed up. Well, quality of being extraordinary is following directions, being obedient. So one of the things that I also want to go over here is that she speaks to Boaz, and Boaz lets her know that she has a reputation of being courageous. So Ruth was courageous. I want to ask you something. How do people speak about you? Do people in your town know that you're courageous? Or do they see you as being just like everyone else? And remember, mediocre means ordinary, average. You know? So you want to be extraordinary, courageous, victorious. How do people speak about you? How do people know you? It's really interesting what Mike Murdoch says. He says that you'll either be remembered for the problems you create or the problems that you solve. Which one do you want to be remembered for? So let's be extraordinary. Number 9 quality is that we see that Ruth was selfless and she helped others because she went out to lunch that day and she had some leftovers. And not only did she have grain that she brought back home, but she gave it to her mother-in-law and gave her her leftovers. So obviously she cared a lot about somebody else. Selfless and loves to help others. And number 10, what we can see is that she was a conqueror. Naomi felt conquered, but Ruth was a conqueror. And what I say about that is she had lost her husband. She was a widow. You can just imagine all the thoughts that would go through her head, like, I'm never going to get married again. This is horrible. This might happen to me again if I try to get married again. You know, and that's absolutely normal for people to think that way. You know, she's being set up to marry Boaz. And she does end up marrying Boaz in the end. So let's just talk about what ends up happening in the end here. She ends up marrying Boaz, and because of Ruth, Naomi's land actually gets sold. And not only does it get sold, but Ruth also ends up having a few children. Something she didn't have with her first husband. So could you imagine if she didn't remarry? If she said, you know what, I can't remarry again. I'll never find love again. She didn't complain ever in this story. That's what's really interesting. We don't see any complaining. We don't see any blaming. We don't see any negative attitudes here. We just see somebody who's willing to go for whatever it is that she has to do. And that kicks fear and doubt in the face. So let's go over this again. Being mediocre. These are the qualities. Pushing people, pushing help, and pushing love away. Number 2, being stubborn. Number 3, having excuses and reasons. Number 4, being negative. Number 5, complaining. Number 6, blaming. Number 7, feeling conquered. And what is the fruit that comes out of all of this? The fruit is this. It seems that everything is against you and everyone is against you, usually. Just living life is number two. And number three, people who don't take action to create anything. It's like you're going through the motions every day of what you know you have to do, but you don't go beyond it. That's mediocre. But let's take a look at being extraordinary. Extraordinary. Number one, persistence. Number two, having a clear vision. Do you have a vision? Have you ever thought of having a vision? Maybe it's time to get one if you don't. Number three, willing to work. Number four, humble. 5, respectful. Number 6, expressing gratitude. Number 7, following directions. 8, courageous. 9, selfless and helping others. And number 10, being a conqueror. So the fruit that comes out of being extraordinary is this. You get lots of favor, as we see. Ruth got a lot of favor. In fact, Boaz even gave her a lot of grain that she didn't even have to work for. That's awesome. And then number 2, your life blesses others because not only did she help her mother-in-law, and her mother-in-law was able to eat, but she also helped in facilitating her land being sold. And then number 3, we see that Ruth took a lot of action. She didn't cower down. She didn't, she didn't throw in the towel. She never once did. She always kept going where she knew she needed to go. So I know that you're probably looking at me thinking, well, Mike, you probably don't even know what I've been through and what's holding me back. There's a lot of things there. And trust me, I understand. I understand because opposition always wants to come up. Opposition, let's talk about opposition for a second. Opposition, I was talking about this with my friend the other day. Opposition is like an invisible force that wants to hold us back. And it's something we can't see, but it's something we can feel, and it usually speaks in the form of fear and doubt. And when we feel those feelings, they can take hold of us and stop us from going where we know we need to go. But in fact, let's use the devil for a minute. Some of you may not believe in the devil like I do, and that's totally okay. But he is the opposer. He is the one that speaks doubt and fear. So if you want to use the word opposition here, then we'll use the word opposition. But as we know, Jesus was in the wilderness. He was tempted for 40 days by the devil. We see that the devil came 3 different times and tried to get Jesus off track. But Jesus didn't give in to whatever was being said to him. And because of that, the devil had to leave. And it says that he would come back at a more opportune time, because at that time was not a great opportunity for the devil because he lost. So opposition will lose if you stand against it and don't let it hurt you. Don't let it stop you. So just step up. Be courageous. Don't let opposition come against you and to keep you down, because it will have to leave and come back at a more opportune time. And by that time, you have grown and become stronger, and you can handle it again. And eventually, every opportunity that opposition has to come against you, it's just going to know, you know what, I might as well not even mess with this person too much, because I know that they're just going to keep rising out of it. And that's the kind of person that you want to be. We're going to have to be overcomers for the rest of our life, you guys. So you may be also saying, nobody believes in me. I understand. I have felt that way. It may seem like the whole world is against you, and you may have one person in your corner, but at least you have that one person. That one person is all you need. I fortunately have 2 people that have been in my life for a very long time that have always believed in me. That's my sister and my best friend, and I am so grateful for them because they are consistent, and no matter what mistake I make, no matter what is going wrong, no matter what I feel like giving up on, they always encourage me to keep on going, and I am so grateful for that. So what side do you fall on? Do you fall on the mediocre side, or do you fall on the extraordinary side? I'm sure that you can think of many examples in your life where you were extraordinary, as well as times you were mediocre. But I'm telling you right now, with everything in your life, be as extraordinary as possible. Let's do this together. I have been taking so many steps lately to be as extraordinary as possible. Do I feel like doing that every day? No. But you know what? It becomes a habit if you keep on going for it. And that's the way that I want to live my life. How about you? Where can you start being extraordinary? Maybe it's with your finances. Maybe it's with your eating habits. Maybe it's with exercise. Maybe it's with your relationships with people in your family. Maybe it's with your spouse. Maybe it's with your girlfriend, boyfriend. I don't know. You're the only one who knows. Maybe you need to start loving yourself more than what you do. Maybe you treat others better than you do yourself, and it's time for you to start treating yourself good. You know, Jesus said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So let's step up together, you guys, and be as extraordinary as possible. I'm telling you right now, Mark 9:23 says that all things are possible for those who believe. This is possible for you too. You can be extraordinary. So, on the count of 3, I want you to say, extraordinary is possible for me because I believe. So, let's do that. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Being extraordinary is possible for me because I believe. My name is Michael Anderson. I hope you got something really good out of this message. And if you do, and you change your life, let me know. I want to know how it's changing your life. Just send me a message if you can. So, have an awesome day. Go out and be extraordinary. And we will see you again pretty soon in the next video. Have an awesome day.